Hello, NATO here. I'm going to do a video that doesn't talk about the shooting in Florida right now. There's too much information still coming out about that, and there's still a lot of rumors going around. So until we're able to address some of the specifics about that case, I'm going to leave it for a video probably later on this week. I am going to talk to you about something else that's been kind of bothering me with energy concerns. I'm going to talk to you guys about the push for electronic hybrid cars compared to the traditional um, internal combustion engine cars that are primarily produced around the world right now. Several car manufacturers, most notably Volvo, have announced that they are going to cut production of all petrol, gasoline based engines in the near future. And that some countries are actually going to mandate that all automobiles be produced as an electronic version and completely push out the internal combustion engine. There's a couple of problems with this, and I think people need to understand that just because something sounds like a good idea and something sounds like, oh, this would be great for the environment, that's not necessarily the case. I'm going to list some articles and I'm going to have them in the description that talk specifically about why this isn't the case. One of them is actually a Huffington Post article written by Jennifer Grayson that talks about the carbon footprint of the manufacturing of these lighter hybrid vehicles. They have talked about how the production of these hybrid vehicles uh, is more labor intensive. The materials used in it, the mining for the batteries, the lithium and the nickel batteries, is very, very toxic to the environment. Yes, we make a lot of other batteries for our normal internal combustion engines, but there's a lot more going on in the production of these batteries because there's a lot more emphasis on their use in hybrid and completely electronic cars. 20 to 30% of a car's entire lifetime carbon footprint is in the manufacturing stage of production. And in order for you to completely offset the difference that a Prius would make compared to a Hummer, you would have to drive the Prius 160,000 miles before you're able to completely offset the difference from driving a standard SUV with an internal combustion engine. So you're actually, unless you're going to have that car around for 160,000 miles, you're probably not going to be setting up the differences in your head. You might be pushing off, oh, I'm saving the planet, but you're not. And a couple of other things along with this is that the mining of these batteries to produce these batteries is very toxic to the environment, and as the increase for the demand of these batteries goes up, the cost of mining is going to go up. The amount of materials used are going to go down. They become more rare, so it's going to be more expensive to do it, and it's going to be more costly to the environment to produce these batteries. And that's not being talked about through the general liberal population as far as, well, we're making the world a better place. I drive a Prius. I'm so much better than you. Not true. I'm going to be listing, I said, I'm listing all the articles that I have here in the description below. But one of the things that people need to understand is not just the production of these cars, it's how are you going to fuel them. Well, we're going to use electricity. Electricity is so much better than using oil and to produce gas, which drives it's way better the carbon footprint. Well, there's a problem with that. How are you going to recharge these cars? Well, I'm gonna plug it into my house. My house is gonna recharge it. I'm not gonna be buying gas from BP and Shell and Standard Oil and Chevron. I'm going to be awesome. I'm going to be, so much better than everyone. I'm making the planet a better place. Okay. Where does the power from your from your power socket, come from? The one that powers everything in your house. Where does that power come from? It comes from a country's power grid. Okay, where does that power come from? Have you thought about it? the renewable energies in the United States specifically are increasing in production. That is a true statement. There's been a lot of push for investment in these newer reusable energy sources, solar and wind. The problem is that they are not stable. They are not. Their output is limited by a couple of different things. One, the sun's not always out. Two, along with the production of cars, the manufacturing stages, production of the silica in the solar panels is very damaging to the environment. I don't think people really understand that the production of the solar powers themselves are harmful to the environment. Also, you can't store it. You can't store solar energy very well, with the exception of charging it into batteries, which then you had the same problem with the mining of the lithium and the nickel into producing the batteries. It's very damaging to the environment. And as you increase the push and the demand for these types of power sources, you're going to be causing more damage, just in different ways. It is a trade-off. With everything in economics, it's a trade-off. And there's a big trade-off in the production of the batteries compared to the drilling of the oil. Oil is still going to be drilled. It's still going to be mined, or whatever you want to call it, because plastics, your iPhone case, your book bag, your man-made material shoes, other parts of the car are made out of plastics, which are petroleum-based. It's still oil. It's just being used in a different way. So you're not going to be limiting the amount of oil needed to be consumed, but you will at least allow it to last longer. That is actually something you will be doing. But the increase in power demand from the power grid is going to increase. And solar power is very inefficient. Wind power is very inefficient. They run on direct current power sources. And then once they get to your house, it goes through something called an inverter, which your house then runs off AC current. Now, I don't have enough time to explain to you the difference between DC and AC current, but you should go Google Nikola Tesla and the history of General Electric, and specifically Edison's General Electric, and the struggle between the two sides, and how J.P. Morgan ended up buying out Edison out of his own company, converting it from his direct current to alternating current, and the differences between the two, and why AC is able to work in smaller areas, like, say, a house, but not really for a major power grid. It's just the way they work. The voltages are very different, so it's not something that's feasible right now on a massive scale like this. Okay, another thing is that not every state has every state has a unique power grid, and you can damage the entire power structure of the entire country in certain aspects by trying to fuss with this too much. So we haven't really developed the infrastructure for this type of renewable energies as much as we have pushed and incentivized the production of renewable energy. The transportation and the moving of this energy is very, very limited because it doesn't travel very far. Direct current is limited to the distance it can travel. And as further it goes from its point of creation, it's just weaker and weaker and weaker. I'm trying to make this really generalized because it's a lot. We don't have the ability to store the energy. So the only way we're able to maintain a constant source of power is through coal and natural gas, and in some areas wood. So as we push for more of these electronic hybrid cars, and more to fully electric cars, you're going to be increasing the amount of electricity used, and which means you're going to be increasing the amount of coal burned. In some parts of the U.S. and in Europe, you have nuclear power that's sporadically through the country that's able to generate power on a more renewable base than, say, coal is, because the power generated by a nuclear facility is not because of the expenditure of the nuclear material. It's by steam. It's basically water heating and cooling. Again, I don't have enough time to explain to you how nuclear power plants work. Google it. But again, the power is only able to travel so far. That's why you can't outsource nuclear power, because you can't transport it anywhere. Same with solar, you can't outsource it because it doesn't travel. Wind doesn't travel very far. So you're going to have to increase the coal burning to produce enough energy to power your electric car, because even with renewable energies, they have peak times of production. However, the peak times of production do not correlate with the peak usage times. The peak time for production for wind and solar is around the midday. Peak time for usage of power is late afternoon and evening. They don't correlate, and you can't store it. I need you to understand this. Maybe in 100 years, they'll be able to have a better way of doing it, but for right now, most cars don't last 160,000 miles. People drive horribly, and other things on the car start to break by the time you get to 160,000 miles. The average age of a car in Europe is right around 3 years. The average age of a car in the United States is right around 10 years. And I drive a 2003 car, and it doesn't have 160,000 miles on it. So it takes a long time for that to equate out. Another thing, as far as the power sources are concerned, Germany, for example, in 2011 announced they were going to completely shut down their 17 nuclear power plants. But it is also Europe that is pushing for these 100% electric cars. In order to make a difference in the power grid, Germany would have to build 3,000 wind turbines to replace the power missing from nuclear. But if they're not able to build those power turbines in the exact location of that nuclear facility, you're still going to have a hard time transporting the energy from Stuttgart to Berlin, or from Cologne to Munich. It doesn't work that way. Dresden and Dortmund are opposite sides of the country. The power isn't going to travel that far. Germany, which is also a much smaller country than, say, the U.S., Germany is 137,983 square miles. The United States is 3.797 million square miles. So the size of the two countries is vastly different. Germany would have a much easier time trying to transport that energy across its country than the United States would. And again, even though the EU was this great, unified idea, it's not. Each country has a lot of its own internal rules and ways they do power and construction, and it's not something that even the European Union is going to be able to magically do, even though they think they're so far ahead of the game. The power source, we don't have any other way of replacing coal. We don't. So by pushing more electric cars, you're pushing more coal consumption. I hate to burst your bubble. I am getting tired of being told that because I drive an old pushrod V8 engine that I am killing the environment. I burn less coal than you do, buddy. I do. You and your little Prius can just scurry on over to wherever it all, to your Starbucks, which I'm not going to begin to get into that. But yeah, liberals have this idea that they are so much better. They are so much better than anyone else because, well, we're liberal. We are these great, conscientious people who are trying to save the environment. No, you're not. It's in your head. You do this because you want other people to think you're better than what you really are. It's a lie you're telling yourself, and I'm sorry that if you believe the lie that you're telling everyone else. You're not improving the environment because you drive a Prius or a 100% electric car. And Volvo, I hate to tell you, but your sales are going to drop in the United States because even in California, they don't have the infrastructure to have 100% powered electric cars. They don't have it. They can't do it. They don't have the money. They don't have. You're going to put all these gas stations out of business. Okay, yeah, that's how much of your population works through that type of service industry. A lot. You're going to have to completely restructure your economy, and you can't do that. It's not something that you can force to allow. We're going to make gasoline cars illegal. Okay, you're going to destroy your economy. Just you completely destroy it. Go nuts. I mean, I don't live in California, so you guys can secede or fall off into the ocean for all I care. But don't tell me that you're better than me because you drive an electric car. Because you burn more coal than I do. You still have to drill for oil for all your plastic dashboards. You're still going to have to drive your car more miles than you were actually going to drive your car to match your words as far as having a less carbon imprint, because you're probably going to trade your car in every 2 to 3 or 4 years, and then the cycle just starts over again, and the car is going to get crushed before it hits 160,000 miles. And no, you're not doing it. You're absolutely full of it if you think that driving a 100% electric car is better for the environment. Ugh. As you can tell, I'm frustrated because this doesn't make any sense why people think this is a thing. No, it doesn't. I'm going to continue to drive my V8 engine because I know for a fact that until that car finally falls apart, that I am not contributing to the problem of producing a car that will contaminate the environment more so in its lifetime, which is than my car will. And I am not going to push for the higher use of coal. I don't like burning coal. I think they need to find a way to get away from it. And we're not going to right now with trying to push up the demand for burning of coal because of the demand for electric off the electric grid for powering electric cars. You guys are stupid. Anyway, I'm going to, until next time, wish you a wonderful day, unless you try to tell me that your electric car is better than my V8. Until next time, peace out.